Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Last Call. Is not John or Maverick involved, but just me, Will Ashton, and I'm joined by my regular Innate Ogre to its Ogre co-hosts. First off, we have Matt Serafini. Hey, Matt.
Hello.
How are you doing, Matt?
Oh, I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Nice.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course, yeah. And we would be remiss if we did not introduce our other chair, our other co-host, that is Chris Sheridan. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited to talk about this Grinch movie because if we don't talk about it sooner, it is going to erode from my memory, and I think it's pretty gone at this point already.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're going to be talking about The Grinch 2018. This is the second feature-length adaptation of the classic Dr. Seuss story. There has been, I think, 3 adaptations altogether. There is also one from 1966 that featured Boris Karloff in the lead role, and I believe that was directed by Chuck Jones, right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, very famous Warner Brothers animator. The 2000 adaptation was directed by Ron Howard, and this new version is directed by Scott Mosier of Kevin Smith fame, and I forget who the other person is. Does anyone know off the top of their head?
I didn't even know the first guy.
Oh, Scott Mosier is, if you guys don't know, Scott Mosier is a very famous, well, not very famous, but he is famous for being Kevin Smith's, like, editor, producer buddy. I think he does the Smodcast with Kevin Smith. He did also produce Freebirds, if you remember that, with Woody Harrelson.
I remember that,
yeah. That movie where the turkeys go back in time to stop Thanksgiving, and spoiler alert, they decide to make pizza. The food of Thanksgiving. No one should watch that movie. It's bad.
You're making it sound a lot better than it is.
I remember like seeing the trailers for it and be like, I bet nobody is going to see that movie.
And they didn't.
Well, yep.
Do you think there's like I have this thought that there's like a fourth Grinch version, like another like short or feature just floating around somewhere, like a really weird one, like a that animated Star Wars Ewok special, that kind of situation.
Not to be confused with the holiday special.
Not to be confused with the holiday special,
which came out today. This is the anniversary of the holiday special.
Today,
the 40th anniversary?
I believe so. I think, yeah.
That wasn't the Star Wars holiday special Boba Fett's true introduction. That was his debut.
Yeah, that's right.
That was where he first appeared.
So we have that to thank for that.
Happy birthday, Boba.
Yeah, happy birthday, Boba Fett.
Hey, happy birthday.
Rest in peace.
Oh, man. So I looked up. Yarrow Cheney is the other director of this film.
Of course.
Yeah, who could forget? I think it might be Yarrow. I'm not quite sure. I apologize. I feel bad for this guy. But anyway, so yeah, okay. Main difference with this one, it's animated. First feature-length animated adaptation.
Which is the right way to do it.
I think that's probably the better way to go about it. This also has Benedict Cumberbatch in the lead role, who I thought was fine. But he also sounded like he had a sinus infection the whole movie.
Yeah, it was like, I thought when I found out like a year or so ago that he was going to be playing the Grinch, I thought it was an inspired choice. And then he like didn't do his normal voice.
It feels like he's trying to distance himself as far as possible from the Karloff version.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it kind of shows like it feels intentional in a bad way.
Yeah, and I think that he should have gone closer to the Karloff because like I feel like that's the Grinch. Like the Grinch to be a deep-voiced British man. I don't know. It seems like it'd be right. I don't know.
I'm of two minds of it. Like I think, for one, like I think having him do a different voice was better for me to like get into the character. Like I never really thought of it as Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, and
also I feel like I guess the best way I would describe this version of the Grinch, as far as the voice that Benedict Cumberbatch gives him, is it's kind of like prissier than the other adaptations. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Which I think kind of makes sense. Like in general, the Grinch is kind of a prissy dude.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of was fun. I think it wears out its welcome past like 10 minutes. As far as
there was a great tweet that I think you may have sent me. That was like, why is Benedict Cumberbatch voicing the Grinch like a gay JCPenney's cashier? Or something like along those lines.
I didn't get that.
I don't think
that was more in the ads, like where he's like calling the football star or whatever, or the basketball star. I don't remember. You could probably edit this part out.
I did think that he sounded better in this movie than he did in the original teasers.
Yes, I agree.
In the original teasers, he was very nasally, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's awful. And then, of course, every time I went to go see a movie, especially if it was like a PG-rated movie over the course of the summer, every single trailer would be interspersed with another Grinch teaser complaining about how many trailers there were, and it was
really
yeah, it was really like they had no idea that how badly they were missing the point.
Oh my gosh!
So, I mean, he was speaking to the choir, buddy. But yeah, back in those, he was like way more nasally, and like it sounded awful. So
like Squidward.
I like that. I like that version kind of. It reminded me of that one SpongeBob where they pretend to be Squidward.
Yeah.
Hello,
I'm Squidward.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, but I think on the whole, as far as the film is concerned, not the promotional materials. I don't know. Like I said, I think he's fine. I would say Boris Karloff is probably the most iconic version, but I think that there's something to be said about Jim Carrey's performance, and I know it kind of rubs some people the wrong way because it's a lot more boisterous. It's a lot more pop culture reference heavy. It's a lot. I mean, it's a showy kind of bombastic performance. Mm-hmm. But again, kind of similar to Benedict Cumberbatch, he does disappear into the role. I think that's mostly the makeup, more than anything else, which is very impressive. I think for the 2000 version, the makeup on the Grinch is extremely impressive, and it's Rick Baker, so it makes sense that it'd be impressive. But
I believe the Grinch's makeup in that movie took 3 hours to put on and 1 hour to take off.
That's actually less than I expected.
It could be more. I may be misremembering.
No. I mean, like I would think that would take like 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm saying that I might be misquoting that trivia.
No, I think you're right. I think it is about 3 hours.
But I do know that Jim Carrey he consulted with like a SWAT guy on torture resistance methods because the suit was so uncomfortable that he was literally couldn't put up with it. He said he became like a Zen master when he was wearing the costume because he had to force all the discomfort out of his mind and just focus on his performance.
Oh wow! Which
is probably why he was so erratic. He was like literally dancing the discomfort and the pain out.
Oh my gosh!
I'd like to think like that's kind of how I saw it. In any case,
yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, I did not know that. Yeah. So anyway, we keep jumping back to the other adaptation. Or I'm sorry, I'm jumping to the other adaptations. Let's just focus for now on the new version of the Grinch. Matt, why don't you start? Since we're the kind of the guys that started this once Shrek podcast turned Cat in the Hat podcast. Tell me how you feel about this version of the Grinch.
I would describe it in the same way that one would describe the third book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, which is a weirdly deep cut that doesn't really fit here, but it was mostly harmless. Like, it didn't really hurt anything. It wasn't really, like, the best movie I've ever seen or anything. It was just, like, fine. It's there. There were some things in it that I liked a lot, like, anytime Kenan Thompson's character was on screen, I was happy, because I liked him a lot.
He was the guy with the beard, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he was funny.
Yeah. That was one of the things that worked for me. The animation was good. I wouldn't call it anything groundbreaking, but it was, it worked. It looked right. It looked like Dr. Seuss. It looked like the Grinch. One thing that I noted, because I watched the original TV special, then the 2000 movie, and then I went and saw this in theaters. I do think it's odd that they removed the Grinch's yellow eyes, yellow and red. Because, I mean, in the original book, the Grinch is actually just white, and his eyes are red, and that's like the defining characteristic. And I noticed that in the Chuck Jones special, he has yellow eyes with red pupils, and then once his heart grows, they turn white and blue. And I was kind of hoping they would do something similar in this, but it's pretty much this movie was really weirdly toned down on a lot of the Grinch stuff. He was like cuddly, and I like, for example, the part where they talk about, I mean, I guess, are we doing spoilers
It means the Grinch.
Exactly. It's kind of
Yeah.
everyone kind of knows the story at this point. When his heart grows, they like reworded the way it's phrased. Like I love that original line of and what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. It's a great line, and they like changed into this to just something way more anticlimactic, in my opinion. It was just like his heart grew 3 sizes. Like it's almost like an afterthought. I don't know. There were a lot of weird things like that where they just like they took the emphasis off what makes the original work. And I don't know. It was odd.
I think having Pharrell as the narrator was a massive misstep.
Why is that? Actually, I don't really agree with why you say that.
Just because I think that the whole it kind of infuses the movie with this kind of hipper tone to it that doesn't feel like it matches A, the Grinch's character, or B, Dr. Seuss's flavor. Mm-hmm. And I think again, it's not necessarily his fault because he was reading the lines that were given.
He did
to him.
a good job with it. Yeah,
but it's like the whole narration aspect felt kind of forced and unnatural. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't really agree. I mean, I personally thought he was fine, but
I think he did a good job with what he was given, but I just didn't think it was the right decision. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, he did a fine job. It's just Pharrell as the narrator and his lines as the narrator were not something that I was into personally.
I mean, I guess compared to like Anthony Hopkins, it's not quite as like commanding. If that's what you mean, it doesn't really like. I don't know. I don't know if I really agree with you on that one, but I will say, I mean, I don't know. It didn't bother me. I thought it was fine. I also will say, I mean, I guess I'll just jump into my opinion. I found myself mostly bored by this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing really about it that stuck out to me other than maybe like a few choice moments. I didn't think there was much that they added to the story that really warranted this film adaptation. I didn't think there was really much that made it that appealing to what they were going for. I didn't feel like it had much of anything to say, or it really didn't have much to do. And what it did try to say, I found kind of clumsy and not quite profound. And I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I will say, what I was going to mention before is that one of the few things I do like was the Tyler Creator songs in the film.
Yeah, I really like that.
I thought they were pretty fun. I thought they gave the movie the right kind of energy that I was going for. Yeah, I mean, there's only a few things that really stuck out to me as good in this film, but I mean, I think the animation's pretty okay. Like, I don't think it's like the best animation we've gotten from Illumination, but yeah. I do think it looks better than the 2000 version, which is pretty garish. It's a presentation, I would say.
Yeah, that's not much of a feat.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not crazy about the character design for the Grinch. He's just too clean and cuddly now. Like, that's the one thing I do like about the 2000 thing is that, like, the Grinch is just, like, off-putting and kind of ugly and, like, weird looking and, like, he has bad teeth. And, like, this, he has, like, you know, like, $1 million smile. Yeah. Like, it looks like you're, like, it ran to me, like, oh, okay, like, we want the Grinch to be kind of kind of a sour guy, but, like, you know, we gotta make sure he's sellable. Like, we gotta sell these toys. You know, it's our fourth quarter, and if we don't sell enough toys, then we're not gonna get the right. You know, and everything about this movie feels very like commercialized to me. Like, everything about it feels like they're trying to sell a product, not so much as make a good film. And not to say they're trying to make a bad film, but it just kind of felt like their execution was like, well, just make it good enough, or like just make it okay. Like, just make it something that's kind of a boilerplate, like serviceable, sufficient film that, you know, it does what it needs to do. It's fine, but everything about it is like so like maybe not middling, but just so like acceptable that I just found myself being like, okay, then like I don't feel like there's a lot of passion here. I don't feel like there's a lot of like energy. Like, as bad as the 2000 version is, it feels like there is like this kind of weird kooky energy to it, and this just feels like it's like, okay, like just make it so that enough people will think it's tolerable, and then kids will probably enjoy it fine, and then we'll sell enough products and stuff, and
it doesn't feel like anyone who was behind this was really excited about it.
And that's like a trend with all of Illumination's movies. There's such a strange air of mediocrity to every single thing that they make, and it's like their brand. Like, even the really bad DreamWorks movies at least feel like there was some kind of vision or effort put into it. But Illumination is just, apart from the actual animation itself, nothing in Illumination's,
which is usually pretty solid.
The animation in these movies is consistently really good, and I thought that the Grinch it had good looking animation, but more than anything, I loved how dynamic it looked. Like it felt like there was actually a camera that moved through the scenes.
Yeah,
it had a very
yeah.
cinematic feel to it, and I really appreciated the look of the scene where the Grinch is playing on the organ, and the camera's
it was great. I liked how bright it was too. It was colorful,
very, very colorful.
I saw it in Dolby, which is worth noting, I guess. But yeah, I mean, especially compared to the 2000 version, which is weirdly very, very dark. This was like bright and red and green and white and all of the Christmas colors.
Almost too bright in his cavern.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of
contrast. There's a whole bunch of natural light in the Grinch's cave.
Yeah,
he's got a giant skylight.
But I will say, I mean, it's not like in the new Beauty and the Beast where they made like the town like more colorful than like the castle, and it's like, I don't know, it didn't feel like that much of a contrast, if that makes sense. But yeah, okay. So Chris, do you have any more thoughts to add? You sound like you were starting to come into your thoughts, but I wanted to give you some space to.
Okay, sure, yeah. I did lose my train of thought for a second, but yeah. Sorry. I liked the look of it. I thought the Tyler the Creator song was delightful, especially You're a Mean One was delightfully weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think there's
a couple.
Two,
yeah,
right?
the other one I thought was fine. The one at the end, but when he sings "You're a Mean One," where he's kind of like rapping some lines and these kids are singing in the background, it was very strange, and I was way into that. And I wish the movie had more of that kind of weirdness to it, because I think that's when it worked the best, is when it was being kind of goofy and wacky. I liked, for sure. I really enjoyed the Christmas heist sequence, because the different ways he was stealing stuff. It wasn't just kind of like taking things. He had like a gadget for everything. Like he threw
it was clever.
The ninja stars wrapped up the tree.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit actually of the Nightmare Before Christmas, and I would say I was thinking about it, and I think technically it's probably like my favorite version of the Grinch. It's not technically the Grinch, but I feel like that movie does more to like be what the Grinch is than any of these feature film adaptations. But so go ahead. Sorry.
I thought that some of the little random moments were pretty funny. Like you mentioned that dream sequence that you really loved.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say my absolute favorite moment of this film is one, and there's like no explanation for it. It was definitely like a animator, probably like somebody involved, just like, wouldn't it be funny if we did this, and then they just put it in because it's filler. That's the thing. A lot of this movie is very much filler. But like in this moment, it was just like they're having dinner and they're like see it like very far apart in this very long table, and
I think it's breakfast actually.
Oh really? Sorry.
He's like, what do you want to do today?
Yeah, he's like, well, Max. Well, I guess I would have to do the Grinch voice, which is like, wow, Max, what would you like to do today? And then he just like cuts immediately to a dream sequence where he's like driving a car to like Mambo Number 5 playing, and then like
Max
the Grinch
is driving.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Max is driving, and then the Grinch is like basically like a big dog. And he's like, "Oh, you never have any."
Yeah, the Grinch is like is leaning out of the convertible with his tongue flapping in the wind.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
And that, to your point, I think if it had more weird, like goofy stuff like that, I think I would have enjoyed this film more. But it was weirdly lacking in those kind of moments, except for that.
Yeah, there are a couple others, like he's playing Kenan Thompson, and the Grinch is playing All by Myself on the pipe organ, and.
Oh, that's what he was playing. I was like, I know this song. I don't know what it is.
The second song is, I don't know what the first one was. The second one was All by Myself, which was really funny. And trying to think, there are a couple other things too. I thought that at the very end, when the sleigh is plunging off the cliff and the giant moose saves him at the last second, I thought that was awful. I thought that was really unearned, and I didn't think that worked at all for that character, because I think I don't want to nitpick, Illumination feature-length Grinch movie for children in terms of thematic elements, but I think there was a good moment when the moose had to leave them because his family showed up, but the Grinch didn't even get mad.
Yeah.
I would have thought that the Grinch might have ostracized him a little bit for like hiding the fact that he did have somebody to be with. And then if the moose came back and saved him, that would have made him, okay, he forgives him, that kind of thing. But I don't know. Like everything about the character of the Grinch is really problematic in this movie. What about the moose?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that him as a character, like, I didn't... Because they introduce him. He's not, like, in the book. Or this is the first time we've ever seen him. And he shows up, and then, like... is there for a few minutes and then leaves. And I was kind of like, oh, was that just like to sell more merchandise of like a stuffed moose? And then like when he shows up at the end, I was like, oh, all right, I guess. But yeah, it just didn't really work. I agree.
Well, I think, I mean, it's not only to have that moment, but we also have to sell the merchandise too.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Matt. I mean, you know, you gotta get those plush toys out into the stores. You know, I mean, kids are just gonna be dying to buy those. And I mean, we also got the they can fit right next to the Max plush toys. We can get the Cindy Lou plush toys. We can get Keenan's plush toy. I mean, you know, so much merchandise you can sell.
Speaking of Cindy Lou, this is definitely a movie that was made in 2018. Because all Cindy Lou wants is for her single mom to not have to work so hard. She doesn't want a dad. She doesn't want presents.
Yeah.
And also, she completely defies most gender norms, and most of her friends are male. So, like, this is such a liberal movie to not to use the word like that. But not that that's a problem. I think it's cool. It's just it's noticeable how
it's more progressive.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah. Though I would say that she did have agency in the 2001, what with trying to like include the Grinch, but this was even more.
Yeah,
so,
this is.
Yeah, well, it's weird in the 2001 because like everyone just keeps talking down to her. Like the mayor is just like, "This is all your fault."
Yeah,
like you stupid little girl. Like what's the matter with you? It's like, geez, like especially watch it because I was gonna say, I mean. We rewatched the 2000 version. It was the first time I watched it as an adult, so I kind of came into it with new eyes and nostalgic eyes, I guess. But yeah, one thing that really stuck out to me watching it this time was just like, people are really mean to Cindy Lou. Yeah. Like she almost dies in that one scene.
One thing that one of the moments I really liked in this movie was when the Grinch is going through town, and all of a sudden he's besieged by carolers, and it's almost treated like a horror flick moment because he's being chased by them and he thinks he's escaped and they all burst out of the windows at him. I thought that was pretty funny. If they had sold that just a little bit more as a horror sequence.
Yeah, it was more inspired than most of the other gags in the film, I'd say.
Yeah, they needed more stuff like that, like more creative things. I don't know. I want to throw in something real quick before I forget it about Max. Something about him bothered me throughout all the trailers. Like I was like, there's something off about that design. And I think I realized it when I saw the movie finally after rewatching the other two. And I think it's a combination of two things. I think the first thing, the more simple thing, is that he just seems too happy. Like, I just always picture Max as just like a reluctant, kind of sad dog until the end. Whenever the Grinch turns around, then he gets like happy.
I don't know. I mean, I think they kind of leaned too much into that in the 2001 to the point where it's like the Grinch is arguably somewhat abusive to Max. And I'm like, that's not fun. I mean,
no, I'm not saying he needs to be. I'm saying the dog is like just sad. Like
no, I guess
Droopy, like Droopy the dog.
I don't know. I don't really agree with that, but okay.
I see what you're saying.
Well, either way, I mean, I'm not saying that's the lesser thing. That's just me talking like about like the book. Will
no, I mean, like I should mention, I also reread the book and I didn't really get that impression. Like I just think he's like a dog. Like he's just kind of going along.
Yeah,
the Grinch is his owner, but like I didn't really think of him as sad.
Well, like I said, this is the lesser thing. The other thing is the more direct thing that bothered me, and it's the little faux hawk like hair spike.
Oh yeah,
Max has. This is just part of the design. Like I guess what they were going for. They wanted to differentiate it, but it just didn't seem right. I think
they were matching the Grinch, right? Because he has a little faux hawk.
No, he has a little spike, and that's the thing, because there's that one scene, there's two scenes where they address his little faux hawk, and both times I feel like you could have done it without him having it the whole movie. I don't know, it just, something about that design.
He feels like a recycled asset from The Secret Life of Pets. That's exactly what bugged me. That really bugged me too. And I agree too that he did seem a little bit too happy and joyful, but it also kind of plays into the issues with the character of the Grinch anyway, because the Grinch is all sad, and then Max lays his head in the Grinch's lap, and the Grinch starts petting him. And I think that, opposite to the 2000 movie, it felt like the Grinch is a little bit too loving of Max, and that kind of plays into him as a character in this movie that was really problematic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I'll let you finish that point for 1 second, but I think you're kind of touching on something that I had an issue with, which is that I feel like in general the Grinch in this one is like not really he's
not a Grinch.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, like, I think he's, like, it's, like, weird, because, like, the films, I feel like they're two extremes. Like, in the 2001, he's too mean. Like, he's, like, way too mean. Yeah, he's, like, way too mean to Max. He, like, gives a kid, like a handsaw.
Run real fast
and
that now.
Encourages the kid to run away. It's like that's not really what the Grinch is about. Like he's not advocating murder. He's just grumpy.
He's a curmudgeon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He's
what I mean. Like,
Scrooge.
so, but in this one, he's just like the only thing that he does that's mean is well, besides making Max go up the hill, which
When the pickle.
how big is the hill? Because like Cindy Lou goes up it, and like both versions, she like does she go up the hill in this version?
Yeah, she
like-
comes up to invite him to dinner.
Yeah, like it's like nothing for Cindy Lou. Like this, I don't know. In the book, she's 2, but I'm guessing in this version, she's like between 6 and 8. Like it takes like 5 minutes for her to go up the hill, but it's like 3,000 feet tall. That's a nitpick I have for.
It's a cartoon.
I know.
I'm not.
It's an issue I have with the 2001 more than any of them. But
Yeah, the 2001. Sure, this one I don't. I can't argue about.
sure,
that.
whatever. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. But besides the grocery store scene.
Yeah.
Like Grinch isn't really that mean in this. Like he's just kind of
depressed and antisocial.
Squidward.
Right. Well, that's what. Yeah, you want to go ahead into the more problematic part of this film,
well, so
Chris?
while I did think that the gag, the reason he went to town because he was stressed, he was emotional and stress eating, and ate all of his food that he had stocked up for.
I did actually
was
kind of
pretty
like.
funny.
I like that gag.
Yeah, he does.
But
Yeah.
this movie, like you said, he's not a Grinch. He's just depressed and antisocial, and then they kind of come up with this new.
He's a normal millennial.
What?
Yeah.
He's just a normal millennial.
He is just kind of like they introduce a new backstory for the Grinch, which is awful. It turns out the whole reason he hates Christmas is because he's just doesn't like being alone. He's depressed and a loner because when he was younger and he was green, nobody wanted to play with him. So now he's a little bit bitter.
Yeah. Which I don't have an issue with that per se. I think my big issue is that I don't feel his motivation to steal Christmas is that good in this film. Like I feel like I get the motivation in the 60s one, I get it in the 2001. This one is just like, oh, that's what we need to do. So that's what
there's not really anything. First of all, it took him 53 years to come up with that idea. And
yeah.
and also
Yeah.
Which is true in the 60s one
yeah.
as well. He's 53 in that one.
but
That's in the
still,
book, yeah.
I mean, in it's
Actually, I don't think it's in the book, but it's in the cartoon.
because in the 2000 movie in the cartoon, he's stewing for 53 years over these Who's and their celebrations. In this one, he just doesn't want to talk to anybody, and then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna get to Act 3 really quick and steal Christmas.
Yeah.
Also, for having been
But Act 3 is like an hour long.
after being shunned as a child, I thought it was odd that nobody in town is really bugged by him. Which maybe that plays into how lighthearted and kind this movie is, because there's one thing I noticed is that this movie is just so wholesome in a way that is almost cavity-inducing. Like this is an almost unbearably sweet film. Like when Cindy Lou Who's mom gets home from work, she gets on the bus and she falls asleep on the person next to her, and the guy just kind of chuckles. Like he's not like "get off me." He's like, "Oh, haha, that's funny." Like it's kind of weird just how nice everybody is in this movie, which kind of is probably why nobody has a problem with the Grinch, but that doesn't work for his backstory when nobody wanted to be around him.
I'd be okay with that. The Grinch is meaner, but like I said, like the Grinch, like if in this version he's not mean, like he just like you said, he's just oppressed, and the whole thing with that is problematic because like they don't really develop it much. It just like brought up like, oh, that explains everything, and it's
the
like
counterpoint that I could come up with for him why he's like. Maybe it's just more of his perception of everyone. He sees them all as hating him and stuff, but he's just imagining it. Like, but they don't really establish that.
In which version?
Right. I mean,
oh, okay.
In this version.
And to be fair, Chris, I don't think he was necessarily shunned in this version. He was just more ignored. And then now, like he just kind of is like a loner, and then people are just kind of like, oh, okay, it's a Grinch. There, he's like the count character, I guess.
I did,
which I think that's what they're going for. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's not really a lot that's developed here, and weirdly, the time they could have spent developing things was just on antics, like reindeer gags and I don't know, off tangents.
I liked how he his he bought the green hair dye from the grocery store.
Yeah.
So yeah, that reminds me. Do they sell that only for the Grinch? Like, did he place a special order on that hair dye, or
he keeps that?
He's like, once a month, somebody places an order for green hair dye.
Well, I was imagining him like on the phone, like like just trying to make sure that they have the order before he goes into town. And
he tweets at
anyway,
them.
well, then they showed him as a kid. They showed him as a kid when he was green.
That was weird.
That gag raised too many questions.
Well, I mean, he is probably close to 60 years old.
Well, I think they were implying that he was going gray.
Which
that makes more sense.
It makes more sense, but it's not as funny.
Yeah, I thought it was that he was a normal colored Who.
That's
no,
they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the implication I got was that he was going gray and that he just wanted to keep his green complexion.
Yeah, that's actually pretty respectable, I'd say.
Yeah.
But anyway, what would the gray Grinch look like?
Like the book.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway, let's do some final grades for the Grinch, and we can, I guess, wrap up with a couple lingering thoughts that we have for the other adaptations. Matt, do you want to go with your final grade?
No, I didn't really prepare one, but I guess I'd probably say C+. I don't know if that's too low, but it's about where, it's like a fine movie. It's not offensive, not bad. Probably between a C+ and a B-, but I'll be nice. I'll say B-.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a Grinch. I'm the Grinch in this movie. I'm like the one who's not mean.
So an A- for Matt?
No.
No, I'm kidding, because you keep bumping up the grade.
A+.
Wait a second, is this my favorite movie of the year?
You know what? 4 stars. Yeah. Anyway, so Chris, where do you give it?
I was gonna say C-, but that's too close to the Happy Time Murders, and it's D+. So.
Well, just grade whatever you feel the film is worth. I mean, don't look at what you gave other films.
It's between a C and a C- for me because I did appreciate some of the animation and the look of it, but everything about the Grinch's character bugged me to the point of really being sour on most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm closer to you on this one, Chris. I was between a C and a C-. Like I think if it was more offensive, I'd give it a C-.
Okay.
But like you said,
I said okay.
What? Yeah. No, I mean it's a little offensive, but on the whole, it's just meant to be kind of plain and bland, and I mean that kind of offends me. But as a film, I was just more annoyed that they didn't do anything really. It just kind of felt like they were just like you were saying earlier, Matt. They just felt like they made it because they felt like they had to, or that they knew it would turn in a profit, which feels pretty cynical, and it kind of goes against the whole commercialism, anti-commercialism that the source material is going for. But that's Illumination. So yeah, I'll give it a C. That's a little generous for me.
I think the big thing is that we need to remember that we're spoiled by animated movies. This is definitely a children's film and not really a family film. We're a bunch of guys in our mid to late 20s talking about a movie. We're not the audience.
Though I will say, as someone who did not grow up watching the 2000 movie, if I had to watch one of these Grinch, if I was going to watch a Grinch movie every year now, henceforth, I'd pick this one because it's I mean, I guess if the Chuck Jones one wasn't an option.
Yeah, I mean, you could fall asleep during this one, and I feel like I think the 2001 kind of demands your attention.
Yeah, this one is the best Grinch movie. I would go as far as to say.
Best out of the 3 adaptations or just of the feature films?
No, of the
features,
movies.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. All right. Before we wrap up,
second best adaptation.
Does anyone else have any more lingering thoughts about the other adaptations of the Grinch, the Jim Carrey one and the 60s animated special?
I really enjoyed the 2001 when I was a kid, and I still had fun with it when I rewatched it now. I know it's the unpopular opinion in this room, but I have very little against the 2000 Grinch. I think that style is very extreme in a way that I appreciated over the 2018's version, lack thereof. Because it's so gross and grody, and the Grinch is such a and I kind of like the introduction to the Grinch too, where you don't see his face for a short while. He's walking around, you see behind him, and then he turns around and he does the awful idea smile. And I thought that was a good reveal of his face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are moments where you can tell that it's made by an Academy Award-winning filmmaker.
I will also say, if that movie was shot by Emmanuel Lubezki, I think I would like it a lot more. It's so ugly. It's to look at.
It's a weird thing.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
The cinematography does not do any favors to the really solid production design. The production design I think is terrific.
Yeah, because I've been to that set. It's on the Universal lot. If you take like the backlot tour, you drive through it actually, and it looks great even in person. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that they spent a lot of money and a lot of time on making it, but I agree with you, Matt. Like, I think one of the bigger things that separates my enjoyment value of the Cat in the Hat to the Grinch, where it's just like the Cat in the Hat, like it has a lot of the same problems, but it just looks a lot better.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, like the cinematography definitely complements the production design of that film, whereas the Grinch, it just so like grating and like it just grosses you out. And I mean, I can see the appeal of that, Chris. Like, I think that's somewhat intentional, given the Grinch is a fairly gross character, and I guess the Who's commercial values at the beginning of that film are supposed to be kind of gross as well. But like, it's just kind of remarkable that movie has been able to charm as many people as it has, because it's just
chaotic.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to. I mean, I think it was a little bit too darkly lit, darkly shot, but I did like how kind of unpleasant and gross all the characters are, except for Cindy Lou Who. Like, everybody is so obsessed with stuff and everything.
Yeah. And Cindy Lou Who's dad's.
He's fine. He's just a little overwhelmed. He's trying to keep up with the rest of the Who's.
I was telling you guys, I think when they cast that part, they were like, let's get a William H. Macy type. Or as you were saying, Matt, a Rick Moranis type.
Yeah.
I don't know who the actor is, but it was just like, he just felt like, well, we couldn't get Rick Moranis, we couldn't get William H. Macy. He'll do, I guess.
did think that Jeffrey Tambor was perfect for the mayor.
I just don't know why that character. Yeah, it's just like the character's so unnecessary. Matt, you said it perfectly off the air. Do you want to just say that again?
Yeah, the Grinch is the villain. You don't need to add a villain. It's weird. It's two antagonists that are antagonizing each other. It's
also, this is the thing that really bugged me this time. I kind of love and kind of hate that the movie implies that Jim Carrey, what's her name? Christy Brinkley? The female love interest character.
Oh, Martha May.
Oh, I don't know.
The actress, Christine.
I'm not sure the actress, but
anyway.
Yeah, I know the character.
She's in The Good Wife. I apologize for her. And Jeffrey Tambor. I love that the movie implies they're all the same age. Like, yeah. I mean, like, maybe with the Grinch, because he's like supposed to be like old and like he's a mythical creature, but like, there's no way she and like the rest of them are like all the same age. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's some of the little touches in the movie and the little random things, like when the Grinch takes his socks off and throws them, they crawl away.
Yeah.
There's a couple gags I do still like. Like I like at the end that the Grinch doesn't know the song.
What?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like he wouldn't know the lyrics.
I like that the Grinch. I like
that is
he's saying the "You're a mean one." Like he's got pipes.
Yeah, that was good. I actually, can I throw in one more note about the 2018 version?
Sure.
I didn't think the ending really worked. It just kind of ended with a thud. Like it was,
I agree.
Yeah.
Because there was the big climactic scene of him apologizing to everyone, and then he went back home, and then he came back out. It was weirdly uneven.
I think it would have made more sense if they had just they had him stay in Whoville for dinner at that moment.
Yeah. Like why didn't they just end it with like he apologized and like Cindy Lou comes up to him and is like, "Why don't you join us for dinner?" And he's like, "What?"
Yeah,
and then like all the Who's in the town were just like, "Yeah, join us." And then like he could feel like the warmth of the community, and then like that would make a lot more sense than like having him go back.
I think
to
they
his
felt the
house.
need to bring Cindy Lou's arc to a close at feeling guilty for wanting her mother to have a good Christmas, but that didn't make any sense. But I think that might have been the motivation behind that decision. I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't know. I don't get how in both film versions that Cindy Lou Who doesn't realize it's the Grinch, that's Santa.
Like she,
in the book she's 2, so it's like okay, I guess I can get that, but like like the hands are green, like and especially in the 2000 one, he's pushing his hands like in her face, and it's like it would be like a dead giveaway. I don't get it.
I think my favorite non sequitur joke in the 2000 version, and I have a good friend in the UK who we joke about this every single year.
Oh yeah.
Where she's like, "Santa, what's the true meaning of Christmas?" And then his face just bursts through the tree. He's like, "Vengeance!" And that it makes no sense, but it's such a perfect sudden moment that I always laugh at that part.
I do like that in the 2000 version that the Grinch is raised by a lesbian couple and they never comment on it or anything. It's no, I mean serious. Like it's like it's pretty progressive for a 2000 studio film that like a lesbian couple is. I mean, I'm assuming they're lesbian. I mean, they don't say it outright, but I think you can read between the lines. And I don't know. I think that was actually pretty progressive for a 2000 broad comedy.
Yeah, definitely.
So
maybe there's a domestic partnership for the tax break.
Well, in any case, we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. I know, Matt, you need to get off. So, with that, let's just end it like we do on It Ain't Ogre, Totes Ogre. I'm Will.
I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And remember,
Thanks
last
for
call.
listening to Cinemaholics.
Yeah.
That's all, folks.
All right, see you.